Hi there, and welcome to the Returners Clinic. My name is Simon Gregory. I am one of the coaches and the founder of the Returners Tribe, an online platform helping you with your return to work journey. This is the Returners Clinic, a live Q&A answering all your questions about returning to work, flexible work, and finding the right job for you. We've had a lot of questions since last week where we talked about how early is it, or how early should you start thinking about returning to work. I've had quite a few questions come through over the last week about what are the first steps when returning to work, how do I return to work, what should I be thinking about. So I thought it'd just be easier rather than going through a lot of very similar questions. Thank you to all of you who sent them through, that was deeply appreciated. But I'm going to do a masterclass on looking at those first steps, what you should be thinking about, getting the foundations right, and helping you make a strong start on your return to work journey. And these are things that you can be thinking about over the next few weeks. You don't have to be spending hours at your desk or hours thinking about it. These are questions that can be asked, the exercises that you can do relatively quickly. Think about whilst the kids are running around the playground or whatever it might be. So let's get into it. If you've got any questions, let me know, and I will answer them towards the end. Super. Right. So when you're thinking about your return to work journey, it's really important, and I can't stress this enough, it's really important to have clarity on what you want to do next. Okay, so it'll help with your motivation levels, it will make it easier to write a standout CV, make it easier for you to find the right job for you. All right, so after doing all these exercises and thinking and contemplation, you might realize that actually what you want to do is go back to your previous career, or if you're an accountant, you might realize that you want to go back to accounting, or that you might want a complete change or something in the middle. Any is fine, all right, but it's much better to know that now and work that out now, at the start of your return to work journey, than realizing it 3 months down the road and having to go back to the start and doing everything all again. Okay, so what we recommend, the first step is that you reassess your priorities. Okay, so whatever your reason for taking your career break, it's likely that your priorities will have changed, and you need to understand what those new priorities are. Your priorities are unique to you. Okay, so ignore what your friends' priorities are, what your spouse's priorities are, your family's priorities. Especially ignore what they think um, what your priorities should be. Okay, you decide what your priorities are, they're unique to you. Take the time to figure those out. All right, so how we would advise you to do this is basically write down categories. So you've got the job category, responsibility, and within job you've got subcategories. So responsibilities, career growth, flexibility, location, etc., etc. You've then got things like salary, company culture, work-life balance, and also subcategories within those areas too. The kind of company you want to work for. So, is it big company, small company, big team, small team? Do you want to be based in the office or remotely? Does your manager need to be in the same office as you? Does your manager, do you prefer your manager to be based elsewhere? These sorts of things. So write down under those main categories of the job, culture, company, salary, and work-life balance are your five main categories, and within that you've got those subcategories, and write as many subcategories as you can think of. Okay, once you've got that, you need to then write down or score each one to five level of importance. So one is must have, really important. Two is important. Three, take it or leave it. Four, try to avoid. Five, avoid at all costs. Okay, you go down and you write everything down. What you'll score everything as you go. What you'll find when you've done all that is you'll probably have two or three must-haves, absolutely critically important. You might have a few more, but typically we see a two or three, and then maybe four or five other important areas that are to you, and quite a few not so important, don't mind if it's there or not, sort of categories. You'll also find that you have some five, absolutely must avoid at all costs. All right, so don't ignore those either, but you'll have your very important and you'll have your important That's what essentially you're going to base your search on, right? Um, so and it's the reason why we do this is essentially for you to help work out what it is that you want. So you might think that, well, before you had children, for example, that actually was for me, especially this is true. Before I had kids, my priorities were money, career, money, career, money, career. That was basically it. All right. As soon as I had kids, those priorities changed big time. It took me a long time to figure out what those new priorities were, and even longer to get comfortable with those new priorities. All right, but since then, as the kids get older, since I've become self-employed and set up the Returners Tribe, my priorities have changed again. So you've always got to be rethinking and reassessing those priorities because that impacts the kind of job that you want. So it might be actually when you've done this exercise that you realise that money is still important to you, and that's actually very important. But you also might realise that commission environment is a must avoid. All right. So that's really important for you to, if you, especially if you work in say sales or account management, to know that right, I need a job that's paying a good salary, but absolutely avoid paying a commission. Big ticks in the box. You start to understand the kind of job that you're going to want. All right. So once you've figured out your priorities, and again, take your time with this. It's not something that you need to do now, but find the time to do it. Think about it. Maybe do it one day, go off for a few days, come back to it, reassess. Yeah, happy with those priorities. Perfect. Right. That's going to be the foundation of your job search. Next, you need to think about your values, your moral compass. Your values are your beliefs and your approach to life that determine how you perceive right from wrong and also how you react to different situations. Um, but it's one of those things that actually most people don't or can't put into words what those values are. All right, but it's really important that you know them because, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, you can't be in a job or at a company for very long if the job or the company goes against your values. Okay, it is stressful, it is exhausting, and it ends in misery. So it's really important that you know what your values are and can put labels on your values and be very clear about what your values are. So when you're interviewing with a company, you will know whether that company aligns with your values very closely or close enough, or whether they're actually completely at opposite ends of the spectrum and it's not the company for you. Despite the fact that they might talk a good game, have a very clear understanding of, is this company right for me? Is this manager right for me? Is this job right for me? And knowing your values is a very, very important part of that. All right. So I'm going to attach essentially a list of values to the comment section after this video is finished, and I will encourage you to take a look at that, print it off and go through it with a highlighter pen, or if you'd rather just write down the values that ring true with you. So just quickly read through each one and you'll get a gut reaction. Yes, that's me. No, that's not me. Some you might get a maybe. Don't be afraid to change the word. All right. So if you see the word, for example, challenges, is that me? Could be me. What about instead of challenges, pushing limits? Yes, that's me. I push limits. Right. Um, if you words on there that aren't, and this is where perhaps again you take a few days to think about it. If you're thinking, well, actually that word isn't on the list, that's absolutely fine. Add it to the list. Add it to you. This is all about you. This is understanding you. Don't be defined by what's just on the paper. This there as a prompt. All right. So get your values, and it might be that you come down and you go, well, actually, I've got 3 or 4 very key core values, or you might turn around and go, I've got 10 or 12 values that are important to me. And again, everybody's different, everybody's unique. You work out what's right for you. All right. So then once you've done that, essentially it will drive the kind of job and drive the kind of company that you want to work for. You then figure out your strengths, which we'll perhaps do another masterclass on. And from those 3 big areas, your priorities, your values, your strengths, it'll give you a very clear indication about what's that next step, what does that look like? Do I want to go back to what I was doing before? Is it something completely new, completely different, and what does that look like? But those 3 things will really help you with your next step. And I think if you take a step back and think about the job in which you were happiest, you will almost certainly find that your priorities and your values were aligned with that company's or that job's priorities and values, and that you'll also utilise your strengths. And I think kind of everyone we speak to, all of our tribe members that we speak to, surprise, surprise, that the job that they were happiest aligned with their priorities at the time, aligned with their values, utilise their strengths. All right, so this is why we always go back to step one: figure out your priorities, what they are right now, and understand your values. All right, so if you need any additional help with this, if you've got any questions, if you want to go into more detail, if you're not sure if you're doing it right, give me a call, drop me a line, or the alternative is you can join the Returners Tribe, which is your personal guide on the return to work journey. So that does everything from helping you figure out what steps next, self-confidence, writing a CV, interview technique, how to find that right job, negotiating the salary that you're looking for, making an impact on your first few days and weeks back in the office. Everything there to help you on your return to work journey. So again, if you want more details on that, drop me a line. And I hope that's been really helpful for you. If you've got any questions, let me know. And like everyone else has done over the last week, don't be afraid to drop any questions about returning to work or flexible work or finding the right job for you to hello@returnerstribe.com. That's hello@returnerstribe.com. Good. Hope that's been useful for you guys. I will attach that file to the comments section. Any questions, let me know, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.